Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to all our visitors today. I appreciate you all coming in to learn more about the city. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone to turn off their cell phones. Ms. Settles, will you have roll call, please?
Mayor Plummer,
Here.
Commissioner Brooks will be absent today. Commissioner Fields,
Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Withrow.
Here.
We do have a quorum and ready for the transaction of business.
Thank you. Ms. Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. First item we have number 4A is approval of the meeting minutes from May 23rd, 2023. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions, corrections, concerns based on the minutes presented? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It does bring us to item number 5, which is ordinances. We do have 2 first readings to consider today. They are pretty large items for us on the table. The first one is going to be ordinance of 2023-6. This is the first reading for the adoption of our fiscal year 24 budget ordinance. So Mayor and Commission, we last meeting, in order to get an understanding of where we were on the budget, I did present the budget information of where we stood that day. It did give an opportunity to provide feedback of different items of priority, so that as we head into the first reading of this budget, to make sure that we are crafting it in a way that is acceptable to all of you. So we did hear a couple of things, and the way I'm moving forward today is I have 2 drafts presented for you today. At the end of today, we will need guidance on which one we would bring to a second reading. So if it pleases the commission, I'll just brief what those 2 items look like. The first draft is very similar to what was presented during the budget meeting. There were some minor changes based on some information that came in after the first presentation of the budget. First of those being the community partners and the joint funded agencies. We do try to align our funding on at least the joint funded agencies closely with the fiscal court. And there were some changes when they developed their budget after the meeting that was held where we discussed these jointly, so that those have been reflected in this new draft budget. The second thing is we did receive our insurance renewal quotes on our work comp, general liability, and property schedule, so that's been incorporated into this draft A. Other than that, draft A stands as was presented last meeting, and we ran through the basics of the large items. We provided the capital improvement plan and all of the things that were included. We will create a new final budget message based on where we go for the second reading. For the second draft that is on the table, or draft B, there was some discussion at the table and continued to be over the last couple of months that there's a desire to move towards hazardous duty retirement. I've provided some additional information to be considered for that. In draft A, we had worked toward putting some funding towards that. However, we do want to make sure we're being responsible with how we fund that. So after additional direction and discussion, we went back and kind of sharpened our pencils and did what we could in order to try to look to see what would it look like if we did want to move forward with hazardous duty funding this year. And so working with the police and the fire department on that, I do present a draft B for your consideration. We did talk with the retirement commission because there is a process that it has to go through to get all of this approved, there's an application process, we have to do physicals, there's a number of things that have to be accomplished before we could do that, and they only meet quarterly. So realistically, January 1 would likely be the soonest this could be implemented. So taking that into consideration in budget, we would only see half of a year's impact, which allowed us to make some reductions to the budget where we could bring forward a recommendation where we're being, I feel, fairly responsible with the recommendation if we choose to move forward in that direction. Knowing next year, though, we would have the full year impact. So we're going to have to, as we develop next year's budget, look for some additional cuts, or maybe see some additional revenue, or not move forward with some programs that we were interested in moving forward. So we would need to remain slim and cautious with how we move forward. So with that half year of funding, we did reduce the adjustments to the pay scale of what was originally anticipated for police and fire, and you'll see that in the next item. That is to say, police and fire will still get an adjustment to their pay this year. It just would not be the same size increase as other employees would see. They also, as we look to move into mid-year, we've discussed the potential of having a mid-year adjustment for employees. And they would not be able to have that mid-year adjustment as well based on the funding, because we'd be using the funding for that. We also would plan to hold some positions vacant for a period of time before we fill them. That again would only be a one-time solution. And then we did eliminate the Station 3 planning funding and the police garage funding for this. I say eliminate, really deferred. We certainly can come back to it later, but there was $50,000 for Station 3 funding. We were not funding Station 3 fully. I think I've heard quoted a couple of $1 million. That was not the case. We're just working on continuing planning to move things forward. Same thing for the garage. We were working to plan to move things forward on that. But we would have to defer that for a year. So with that, we do have a presentation of a second ordinance for you that could consider including the hazardous duty. A couple of things I do want to make sure to note, because I want to make sure all the facts are out there on the table. This is certainly an expensive item for us to consider, and we're always mindful of one-time costs versus reoccurring costs, and this is certainly going to be a year-over-year cost that is going to get larger in cost because as employees' pay raises happen, the cost increases. However, this commission has shown to historically look to go, well, what do we want to do with our employees' benefits and our employees' wages? And so we understand that while it's a large item, we've provided some data on the table for you to consider. Some of you, I've heard there's a desire to continue to move forward. So wanted to provide you a way to get to yes, if that is the case. The other piece of this is we do partially split fund the county with EMS with the county, pardon me. So there continues to need to be discussions with the county on the future of funding EMS. Their budget has been set for the year, and they have requirements where they have to send it off to the state. So their budget has been set, which could find us having to bear some of that additional costs this year. And if we are unable to find some mutual agreement in the future, there could be an impact there that I want to make sure everybody understands. So today, there's still work to be done to get there to yes. But today, I wanted to make sure we're providing a option to fund, if the commission so chooses, towards the hazardous duty retirement program. I do believe personally, you know, we want to have a good package for our employees. We want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success. Our employees are our most valuable asset. I will want to kind of clarify is I cannot promise this is going to be a cure for turnover. I certainly think compensation and benefits is always an important factor when people look to leave an organization, but it is not the only factor. So we've seen over the last about 5 years, 37% of the employees who have left the city in the fire EMS side at least cited either going to another job or pay as a reason. The rest of them did leave for other reasons, whether it was retirement, personal reasons, getting out of the industry. So while I do believe that this is a great thing to consider, I don't want to sit here today and tell you that it will be a cure-all, that we'll never see turnover. You know, I think we will continue to see some turnover. That's natural in any organization. So I want to make sure that I'm not delivering false promises of that this would be a perfect cure. But I do think it certainly can help.
Well, we'll tell you, I can tell you too from, you know, fire there and police here, that you start out with potential new candidates with a little bit of a black eye if you don't have that hazardous.
Absolutely.
That's one of the top things that are marked against you. Consider new people, so.
Certainly, and I think that it would look to have an opportunity to go somewhere that did have hazardous
Exactly.
duty, and shared some data with you all of who around the state has hazardous duty and who does not, you know, and when we look across the organizations of our appropriate size, you know, I do think certainly this is a decision to be made, but I believe that there is good reason to look to continue to push this forward. I do want to make a couple of notes that once we enter into the hazardous duty program, we cannot opt out again. The option to opt out back in 2008 was when recession was upon us. Things were going some difficulties. There were some difficulties with the pension. That opportunity is not an ongoing option to opt out. Once you're in, you're back in unless the state was to offer some other program again. So I shared with you all that I did talk to the Kentucky League of Cities to try to look for additional revenue sources, because certainly always looking to reduce the expenses to get there is not going to be something that long term. We can only trim so far, so we have to look on the revenue side as well. And there are definitely some limitations based on how the state statutes crafted of how we can grow our revenue as a city is very limiting. But there will be, want to make sure Commission is aware that we would bring forward options that we would need to execute to work to fund this. So for example, as we look to set our tax rate later in the year, you will not see a going back to the compensating rate, or I believe that's what we call it here, the compensating rate is not going to be a recommendation. We are going to be recommending that you go to that, at least that 4% mark, if the Commission feels comfortable. You know, we are not able to this year adjust the insurance premium tax. You have to do that within 100 days prior to June 1. But as we look to next year and drafting the budget, we can look at those options. But I did want you all aware that the ability to grow the revenue is constrained as well. So we will continue to look for priorities and craft the budget based on the priorities of the mayor and the commission. So that is a summary. I'm happy to re-go over anything we talked about in the budget message, but I thought if we could just have some open dialogue of where we'd like to go from here.
I think the, excuse me, I think the steps for draft B is long overdue. We've been sort of not up to date on this as we should have been for our employees, so I think this is a good direction for us to go into, look into for the future, keep going the best we can with draft B. I like that. I'm a little concerned about the EMS program with the county. I don't know how that's gonna work, but as you said, we'll have to do some more negotiation and talking about that part of the budget as well.
I too like draft B. I mean, it's time to rip off the bandage and get over the ouchie and move forward. And I know we're gonna hurt for a while, but I think we need to get back to hazardous duty, and I think it'll give us a leg up on retention. And just
Does draft B limit, or you can go 20 years now, or you gotta work 27 years?
Sure, so the way it works is the state did make some changes to retirement over the years. There are now 3 tiers to retirement. So one of the common misconceptions is that you can't get into the old defined benefit program. It's nobody can get into that anymore. The state had to make those changes. And that's not unique to Kentucky, that's all over the country. These defined benefit programs have been eliminated and reduced, which is unfortunate because I think that they were a great recruitment tool for cities and communities. So the way it works now is on the tier 3, the cash balance plan, which is what new employees would go into. For non-hazardous, they are able to retire at age 57 as long as they have a combined age and years of service of 87. So certainly you can retire older with less years of service, but that's the minimum. Or if you hit age 65, you can retire with 5 years of service. On the hazardous plan, you're able to retire after 25 years of service, or age 60 with 5 years of service. So if you kind of do the math there, if we hired somebody at 18, which realistically, we don't often hire anybody at 18 for any of these positions. If hired at 18 and somebody wanted to retire, they could retire at age 57 because they would have more than that additional 30 years of service. Or under the hazardous duty, because they've had 25 years, they'd be able to retire at age 43. So really the maximum difference of years of service you'd be looking at is 14, which is certainly significant. But that's the maximum that you could see. And then as you hire people later in life, that difference between the 2 plans gets to be fewer and fewer years. The contribution rate, at least this upcoming year, for non-hazardous is 26.79% for the city to contribute to, and 49.59% for the hazardous is what the city would be required to contribute. And then on the employee side, on the non-hazardous side, they are required to contribute 6%. And on the hazardous duty side, they'd be required to participate and contribute 9%. So the employees will be required to put in some additional money to their retirement as well.
I like Plan B. There are things that we need to take care of our employees, really, do and always have, so that's my recommendation. What do you think,
Well, I'm a big proponent of hazardous duty retirement. I was an employee here, and we went to hazardous duty, and it's a good thing. We forewent raises for about 3 years in order to make it happen, and it's a fantastic tool to have. My concern, a number of the big one is the county is a big player in this, and in my opinion, we need to know if they support this and are going to support this going forward, because I think 40% of the employees that are, the monetary goes back to them, that if we chose to do it and they didn't, then we're stuck with the bill, because once you get in, I guess you can't get out. But one question is there a window of opportunity right now, Or can this happen, next year?
So you make an application at any point. It's not a one-time opening, and if we don't jump in, you can make application at any point. There is a process to go through, which it requires some extensive forms, as well as we need to make sure we have physicals, recent physicals on all the employees. So there's some lead-up work, which is why I kind of mentioned that realistically, the earliest we would be able to get all of that done is January. And then they only meet quarterly, the retirement board, to approve this. So, but we certainly, you could make application at any time.
The other, just in general, I think we increased our contribution to EMS by $15,000, right, Brad? So is there a projection of what this increase?
I think we've got, what, 80,000? About a $70,000 to $80,000 increase on that.
From the, so it would be an additional 75 to 80 from the county on a full year cost. And then that 75 to 80 is included in the city's estimate as well.
The EMS just continues and continues to go up, and that's one of the biggest drains on the general fund. It's going to be the fire and EMS. But, we need to seek out another source of revenue. I mean, if I'm hearing this right, what you're saying is that, hey, citizens, get ready, there's going to be property taxes going up to help offset this, and anything else we can do, insurance premium tax or whatever methods we can do to fund this, because it's not there right now.
That is correct, is we will have to increase revenue to fund this. We are planning to use some of the fund balance to fund this, but similar to, you don't want to get in a situation where you're paying your mortgage account using your savings account. So while we believe that what we've put forward is a responsible way where we will be dipping into the savings account to pay for some of these ongoing expenses, we believe it's in a responsible enough manner that we'd be able to make corrections over the next 2, 3, 5 years to offset that. Certainly, we know that fund balance is important, that if we hit some difficult economic times, or if there was emergency management situations such as tornadoes, that there's an importance to have that fund balance, which is why initially dipping into it by $500,000 a year, which would have been under option A. We want to make sure that we're being financially responsible. Brad, correct me if I'm misstating anything, but we believe with Plan B, the amount that we're using or proposing to use is a fairly responsible way.
Yeah. Now, and I think looking at our projections, if we do approve Plan B, and we look at the January 1st, just say January, everything goes good with the application process. I'm not even sure what goes into the application process, if they do a financial analysis and make sure that we can actually afford it as well too. But let's just say January 1st entry date. I think that looking at our projections probably through fiscal year 25, we felt fairly comfortable with that expenditure. However, this is just not a $600,000 hit per year. It goes from 600 to 1.2 to 1.8. And so some, decisions and thoughts need to go into, we do have a fairly good savings account right now. Close to 2.5, almost 3 million of that has been provided by ARPA funds, COVID funds. How can we, going into the end of fiscal year 25, probably beginning of fiscal year 26, make sure that we're preserving, that balance? Because really right now, we're, let's say, about a year and 3 months worth of expense coverage in our savings account. So, looking at the Plan B part of it, I feel comfortable for 24 and 25. It's kind of getting in toward the end of 25, 26 where we really are going to have to address something.
Did it even come up at the EMS meeting yesterday?
It did not.
No. I think the county's a big player in this.
And part of why it didn't come up is it's already really a non-issue for this year from the
Yeah,
county.
yeah,
They have a
yeah.
different budget process.
Right,
than the
right,
city.
theirs is already sent off and basically put to bed, so. I mean, put the shoe on the other foot, how would we feel? Of course, it has been done before, but.
What did come up was the fact that we've never really, correct me if I'm
They
wrong.
can't hear you.
Is that better? What did come up was the fact that EMS resides in our buildings. You know, the shared costs maybe haven't been what they should have been, and we've actually put together a, what did we call the group?
Working committee,
A
task
working
force. yeah.
Task force to look at other communities. We don't know how many are similar to us, where one government houses.
Runs it for him, but they share.
Exactly. So we're hoping to see the county provide more towards some of that. And I'm not saying it's $1 million a year by any
Yeah,
means, but
right.
it's been kind of a free
We've
ride.
come a long way.
Yeah.
All right. How are we gonna do this, by motion, or just recommend that we go with a follow-up?
Well, why don't, so one way to do it is, we could just have a first reading of both. And then, somebody makes a motion at the next meeting. Because you don't make a motion on the first reading.
In the
anyway.
meantime, we could drop the bomb to the county, I guess, and let them.
Well, I think they're already aware.
We certainly have already had discussions with the county. They're aware that there was a desire to continue in our budget process to look over this. I don't know if that's been taken to the bigger group, but
Okay, well,
this should not be a surprise.
We'll let this serve as first reading of both A and B then.
Since it's the budget, I'm gonna read this real quick, if y'all indulge me. So this will be ordinance 2023-6, an ordinance of the City of Paris adopting the annual budget for fiscal year 2024, estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of the City of Paris. So on the governmental funds side, it estimates revenues at $10,621,025. And, sorry, make sure I'm reading the right one. We'll read them both. We'll make them easy. And estimating expenses of $11,568,585, and on the proprietary fund, estimating revenues of $21,422,336 and expenditures of $21,635,441, or alternatively, and I think the only numbers that change are expenditures in the general fund side, correct?
That is correct.
So that estimate of expenditures on general fund will be $11,492,789. Do it either way.
Thank you.
With that note, if I may, we will prepare, I believe, the consensus that we're hearing for the most part, because I would like to create a budget message, a clean budget message to include in the second reading. So I will prepare the budget message with draft B, because I do believe that's what I'm hearing as the general consensus. Certainly we can change that at the end, and we can always, if we need to, have another first reading if there's any other changes. We are well prepared on this budget season, that we do have some time. We can do some special meetings if needed. Excuse me. I would like to just make a couple quick notes, because I want to make sure that we're putting out full information. I do know that this commission, in my experience, has been pretty responsive and pretty supportive to what we brought forward for improvements to the employees' benefit structures, including approval of raises, additional leave time, additional contributions from the city on insurance. So certainly by no means are we perfect, and we still have a ways to go. But I believe that as an organization, we are making progress, and I'm sure all the department heads are rolling their eyes already because they hear me say constantly that, you know, we don't always have to look for perfection, but progress is important. So I have no problems with employees expressing frustration, and they have rights that I would always protect. However, I do want to make sure that when we're putting out information publicly, that information is factual and accurate. So I am aware that there's been some recent publications of informations on different mediums that did not contain factual information. And so I do want to make sure that we're always available to have that information. We're always available for those discussions, to bring anything to the table. But we want to make sure that when we're putting things out as facts, that they are indeed facts, because we don't want our residents to have misinformation. That is one of the reasons that all of these meetings are public and available, as well as records. So just want to make sure that we're putting out correct information when we're making the decisions. So that will take us, are there any further comments, questions, concerns on this item? That'll take us to item B, which is first reading of ordinance 2023-7. This one similarly has two options related to it, and it just goes hand in hand with the budget item. So as discussed previously, in order to execute draft B, we would need to execute, the attachments would change. So we provided the different attachments of one would have the compensation scales for if we did not move forward, if we move forward with option A versus option B. So the ordinance itself still says an ordinance related to the amendment of the employee pay scale and classification ranges. It would just, the reference to the attachment would change based on what direction we were taking with the budget.
Do you need to read those, Brian?
No, I think we're okay to read all that. Skip reading that.
Very good, thank you, ma'am.
Are there any questions on that? I do want to highlight, the pay scales also include, you have draft job descriptions for two positions based on the budget. One is the financial coordinator role. We discussed that we're still going to have discussions of whether what that looks like moving forward, whether that is a full-time employee, part-time employee, additional contract services. We just know that the goal is to have financial assistance on site full-time, at least 5 days a week. So I wanted to incorporate it into the schedule, that way we're ready to go, as well as custodial. We know we're not going to take any action on that until later in the year, but wanted to get the custodial on the pay scale. The other item that we discussed for the budget as far as personnel was the field ops. That actually is already on the pay scale and was already incorporated as a separate position. So we did not need to do that, but I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page that there are some additional positions on the pay scale to be adopted as well. Any questions? Thank you. We will move to consent agenda. We do have 7 items on consent, items A through G. Are there any items on here that anybody would like to have removed and discussed separately? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
So moved that we accept the consent agenda A through G.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So that brings us to our regular agenda. We only have one item for consideration today. It's Municipal Order 2023-24. This is related to a partial waiver of tap fees. Mr. Sober and Mr. Johnson were before you. Are they in the hall by any chance? No. So I don't believe that they're here today. But they were before you a couple of meetings back to discuss their development and their building of the Magnolia Trace area. They had 2 requests that they had made for economic incentive considerations. One, they wanted to use the buy-up, if you will, of streetlights to a higher cost streetlight that they wanted the city to pay for the difference. There was not much appetite for that, and we said that we would pay the base rate that we do for any other development, but if they wanted the buy-up option, we would bill the developers back for that. So gave them that message that we do not plan to make any changes on our processes for the street lights. However, there was general consensus at that meeting that there was a desire to do a partial waiver or something. I believe we said we want to do something. So we took the task to go back and said, what could that something look like? What are some other programs that other cities have implemented? And certainly other cities use things like waivers of building permit fees and things like that to encourage economic development. We could find quite a few examples of that. Here in Kentucky, I did not find any examples of specifically tap fee waivers. I did find some throughout other states that they did either all or partial. I did find a lot of communities did not incentivize residential development outside of targeted redevelopment areas. However, the thing about economic development is we really have to consider what's right for our community, and Commission has expressed a desire to support the development of housing options. We know that we have a limit in housing options stock, and our comp plan identifies the need for additional housing options as well. So we are happy to see some moderate growth in that area. So with that in consideration, I put forward a municipal order that would provide a 40% reduction on the tap fees. Brian's got another good idea that I'll let him kind of talk to. I don't want to steal his thunder or credit, but I think it's a good option as well. Certainly that number can change to, it doesn't have to be 40%, but there's not a whole lot of clean, this is what everybody else is doing. They really are encouraging that we look what's right for our community, because we do want to encourage housing development. I think putting something forward is appropriate. I'm not sure at this time I would recommend a formal program that we would use going forward, just because we've seen a lot of communities where the housing starts to take off and it's just gangbusters, and they're seeing more development than they can possibly control. And so I'm not sure we want to put a program formally on the book so much as deal with these as they come forward, as we consider where the city is economically and the impact that we're going to have on that. So that would be my recommendation at this time. Brian, did you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I think 2 things. One, the comp plan even specifically notes that this community is in need of additional residential housing, so this certainly supports many different elements and aspects of the comp plan. One suggestion I had mentioned is putting a sunset on this so that it's not there forever. Yeah, so here's what I would just propose, if it's all right with you all. So the resolution line would read, it's resolved by the Board of Commissioners to approve a 40% reduction of the sewer tap fee waivers in Phase 1 of Magnolia Trace residential development. This waiver shall expire June 30, 2025. Give it 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think it needs to also be known that this is not a precedent for everything and everybody, that it's on a case-by-case situation. And I would make a motion, we approve the municipal order with that date, 2 year.
2 years.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we're all on the same page. We do have a whereas clause in here that says we're interested in sending a one-time incentive package without creating precedents for extension for similar programs or projects. So we know that there's potential for future phases here. this approval here would just be for phase one. We would have additional discussions if there was a request for additional phase support. Are there any questions or comments? Stephanie, can you call the roll on this one, please?
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Fields,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Commissioner Withrow.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brings us to reports. Ms. Betty Ann, do you want to start us?
I'm going to stand because I'm going to give out things. Do what? Okay, good. This month, the Kingland Magazine had big article about Secretariat, of course, because it's the 50th anniversary. We were mentioned as the park, and because of that, I did run, a full-page ad, which this picture is getting all kinds of play from all kinds of places. And it's a local company, YZ Media, so we're happy. It's a beautiful picture, and Warren worked with him to get that done. Here's, also, with that said, Business Lex came out yesterday, and they brought me a few to the office, and lo and behold, on the front page is YZ Media's photo again, and it states riding high, Bourbon County is growing at a fast clip with tourism, manufacturing, and agri-tech leading the way. And Gordon Wilson is interviewed in this article and quoted on many things. So I didn't get very many of these, so you all will just have to share. But this is, she told me yesterday this goes all the way up into northern Kentucky. So
They usually drop several copies off at the library if anybody wants
she
copies.
said they were gonna send some over, and she said if they had any left over, they'd give them to me so I could give them out if they had any left over. Also, just to let you all know, I did attend the Licking Valley Association's annual showcase, set up a table, a booth, and all of us that set up gave a short speech about their counties. I hosted the Bluegrass Regional meeting here. We held our meeting in the courthouse, in the courtroom, and then we went to Trackside for lunch. And then we spent 2 days with photographers and videographers from the state for local and regional tourism, and that was ARPA funding that paid for that. Just mark on your calendars. Oh, First Friday, the first Friday was very successful. Couldn't have done it without all the team from the city, electric, streets, and of course the police. Great help, wonderful support, appreciate it. If you didn't come, the next one is July 7th. And I know Canoneros will be having music. And this time, Pastime Pool Room is also going to have music. So there'll be things going on at both ends of the street, which should make it even more successful. Juneteenth is this Saturday, so get out and support that. And if you haven't seen our commercial, I brought it with us, so. While they're fixing that, what we try to do, Chamber and Tourism pays for the commercials, and what we try to do is evoke a feeling to get people to come to Paris. We do not do a specific business, that's up to them. This is supposed to be evoking a feeling of everybody's so friendly in Paris, you need to come on over.
Just white note. We'll email everybody the link. Happily, yeah.
There's voiceovers,
It's talking the whole time.
it's talking the whole time.
This is better than watching silence.
It's the first time Lauren's ever been quiet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ms. Betty. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, sorry. Good question.
Thank you. Ms. Andrew?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So last week we had our first floodplain map open house for the new floodplain maps. It was lightly attended by the Bourbon County community. We opened it up to the entire watershed, which is Clark County, Nicholas County. So we had folks come in from other communities, but held it at the library. We had some state representatives there who had stations set up so that folks could come in and look up their individual properties and see actual side-by-sides of the map before and the map after and see what the difference is in the new flood maps. Now, we expect a lot more questions to come up, and actually some of the best interactions are one-on-one right here in our office. So if you hear folks interested or concerned or want more information, please don't hesitate to give them our office's contact information. All of our staff members in the office have the ability to look up the individual properties to show what the before and after is. So with that said, again, keep our number on to hand out. It's 987-2150 for folks that are interested in more information. Otherwise, I'm in my last couple of weeks in my role, and so you'll have to excuse the mess in the office. I'm trying to get everything cleaned up and kind of packaged up for the next person. With that said, there has been one interview that's been conducted for the role, a very qualified candidate, and there are 2 more that are expected this week. So I'm sure we'll keep you updated on what's to come, but the goal is to have someone in my seat July 1. So other than that, it's prime grass growing season and weed growing season. So if you observe or hear from folks about properties that are not being maintained, we do have the ability for anonymous complaint submittals on our website, so bourboncountyplanning.com. So please feel free to share that information or give out our office number for folks that want to file complaints. So 987-2150 again. So that's all I have for today. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
At your MAPS meeting, was there anyone there representing insurance agencies to share with the community what flood insurance might look like for them?
So there was a state representative there, the National Flood Insurance Program Coordinator, so the NFIP coordinator.
Okay.
Now, he doesn't represent individual private agencies, but he's able to, he gave a lot of advice that night. So looking up the properties and the floodplain map before and after, that's kind of a primer for other questions that people might have. So he was there for that additional follow-up questions. But then as my role as floodplain coordinator, that's what I often talk to folks about when they come into our office is either they've gotten an insurance policy quote and it's astronomical compared to what it was before, and so then we talk through some of the ways that either that rate can be lowered. We look up, is the elevation of the house itself, is it actually in fact lower than the base flood elevation? So there's different things that property owners can do to reduce their flood rates. But yes, to answer your question, there was somebody there to answer questions in that regard.
And my other question is there anyone from the city or from North Middletown included in the interview process for the new P&Z director? Or is it just county?
No, yeah, and that's where it's, you know, for the planning commission, we are technically personnel of the fiscal court. So it is Judge Williams' responsibility to go through the hiring process. As to who he has involved in the interviewing, that's completely up to him.
Would
So-
you like to suggest that maybe he include someone from the city of Paris and North Middletown to be included in the interview process?
It has been discussed, and again, it's up to him.
Okay.
So, so far in the interview process, Guy Bowman, the chair of the planning commission, he has been involved in it. So, the least that we can ask from the planning office is that a representative of the planning commission be included in that. Fortunately, you know, I feel privileged that I've been asked to participate in that as well. So, so I've been able to have some conversations with, you know, the one candidate so far about the good and the bad of the job. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is, you know. We're personnel of the fiscal court. It's up to the judge. Suggestions have been made, and that's the most we can do.
Thank you, I think.
Well,
Thanks, Andrew.
Ms. Lauren?
First off, thank you for hosting our group this morning for Leadership Bourbon County. We're on our second session for the year, and we're excited. I think the group is excited to learn about the happenings of local government today. So I do want to say our Young Professionals group is hosting its second Festival on 5th this Friday on 5th Street, 6 to 9, 6 to 10 p.m. I think is what they changed it to. I'm not certain of the band, but there is verbiage out there on social media about who will be performing at that. The Chamber Gala, again, is August the 31st at Mustard Seed Hill. I just want to make sure everybody has that on their calendar. Sponsorships are open for that right now. I'll be opening ticketing hopefully by next week as well. Let's Talk Bourbon County, our chamber magazine. I will be opening advertising opportunities and content opportunities in that very shortly. I want to make sure to have all our content gathered this year by November the 1st, because the end of the year is going to be very busy for us, more so than normal with the secretariat stuff going on. So I'll be opening that up for people to add in what they would like to be in our magazine for next year. And then we are very deeply involved in the planning of the Legends of Bourbon County Festival. That is going to be November 10th, 11th, and 12th of this year in downtown Paris, celebrating the unveiling of Secretariat and his homecoming to Bourbon County back in 1973. We're going to have bands, a gala. We're going to be having what we're calling a thoroughbred marketplace that's going to have vendors. It's going to be a big and fun undertaking, and I'm excited to welcome all sorts of people in our community in November. So hopefully we can get that up and going for us. So I think that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gordon?
Give us a brief update.
Got 2 pages here. First of all, good morning. First of all, we finally got approval from the US EDA to move forward with the Connector Road project. And lo and behold, we worked with KU to get our poles moved expeditiously, and they didn't charge us, and we were really tickled about that. And lo and behold, I go out there and they said, we're done. I go out there and I look around, I said, well, heck, they've cut the tops out of these poles, but there's 2 other cables on there. And I guess I overlooked it, but there's an AT&T cable on there and a Spectrum cable. So the contractor, he's pulled out till we can get that rectified, and I've been working diligently trying to get something going with those 2 companies, and it's like we're not getting anywhere fast. But hopefully we can get some resolution in the next couple of weeks, and the contractor's ordered his material and he's chawing at the bit. It's the same contractor that's on 460, and he's got all the shop drawings in, so he's ready to go, and we're ready for him to go. So hopefully we can get that squared away. As you're driving around the bypass, you might look at where they removed the farm gate and the entrance there. That's where the new road's gonna take off, and I tell you, I had never been up on that area until last night, and it is very aesthetically pleasing. It's going to be a real asset to the community once we get the road in. I didn't realize, other than looking at the map, how aesthetically pleasing, and it's going to be, you know, a lot of flat ground, so to speak. So it's and so we're looking. We've already had a couple of 3 developers call about the land, so I put them in contact with the Gamble family, and on both sides of the road. We got Squire and David on one side and Cleve Gamble on the other side. So they're both excited about trying to move forward with development. We have a meeting today with a family from India that's purchasing LK, or the AgTech building. It's LK company from India. They're hoping to close on it hopefully between the 1st and 15th of July. So we're excited about that, and their intention is to build an additional 10,000 square feet onto the existing building. So, and they're gonna start out employing at least 40 people in the first year. The next item is Bourbon County, Nicholas County Regional Industrial Park. We're applying next week for round 2 of the PDI to utilize that money for the utility services to the site for water, sewer, electric, and natural gas. So we're moving forward there, and KU, I think I said last time, they awarded us a $75,000 grant for planning engineering purposes. So we're excited about that. Of course, we have to match it. So I don't know if anybody's aware, but the judge, Judge Williams is the chairman of the joint board. Judge Hamilton is vice chairman. There's a Tim Jefferson from Carlisle, and another gentleman are the 2 members, and myself and Scott Wells are the 2 from Bourbon County, along with the 2 county attorneys. One's the secretary, and I guess the other was the legal counsel. So we're off and running. So we're excited. We've had some calls about property, but you know, we're just not to that point yet. Till we get these utilities figured out and tied in, it's going to be difficult to promote the property. By the way, thank the ones that came to the joint city-county meet and greet at District 7. The chief district engineer was very appreciative after everybody left. You know, I think it doesn't ever hurt what side of the fence you're on, whether it's state government, city government, county government, or whatever, when you give some notice to an appreciation of what they're doing. And before we left, we had a sidebar, and they've committed to extend
Bethlehem Road project into two projects. They've got it under contract for a design firm right now from Paris Pike to Church of God, and from the Church of God to past Cross Creek. I'm not exactly sure where, but I think I said last time that Senator McConnell's field rep wants us to apply along with KDOT for a raise grant that's what got 460 jump started. So I've already requested it from KDOT to hopefully go forward with that. So that would be a real plus. I feel like for the community if we can get that 3-lane out past Cross Creek. So that's all I have. Anybody got any questions?
Thank you, Ward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I get to use my 2 pages, and I'll get you next time.
Thank you, Gordon. Are there any other outside agencies in the hall?
No.
Thank you. Just to note, Parks and Recreation in July is going to start sending somebody at least once a month to make a brief update as well. So we'll look forward to hearing that. So next we have any reports from city staff. Any back here?
Police and fire out in the hall, I believe.
We'll give police and fire a chance to come in if they have anything to report.
They said they're good.
Thumbs up.
The only thing I have to report is we are filing tax liens on the unpaid taxes this week. That's what Ron has here to sign. We had 188 properties that did not pay as of today. That's about 20 higher than last year, and we also sent out a third notice this year. But we will be filing those liens by Friday this week.
I had informed Commissioner Gray, but I had talked to, I guess, Andrea and Mike's contact at FEMA, who put me in touch with someone else. She and I have been playing phone tag for a while, so hopefully I'll speak with Miss Jenny today or tomorrow. And we'll be able to move forward on what the city's options are with these FEMA properties. Obviously, they're going to be very, very limited, but we have to get permission from FEMA to do this. So hopefully they'll be receptive.
I don't have anything.
I just wanted to briefly introduce, in the side of the room here, we have Jacob Barker. He is our new HR director, so we are very pleased that he has joined the team. He comes to us with tremendous experience with some very large organizations in HR, and he's already hit the ground running. So last Friday was his first day, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he had open enrollment of last week, and he dove right in, and it's been a tremendous support having him here, so I just want to make sure we welcome him. Want to also welcome the leadership group. Glad that you guys were able to join us today. I hope that you learned a little bit, enjoyed our meeting. After this meeting, we will have the department heads stay back, so don't forget, department heads, don't run off, to talk a little bit about the different areas that they cover. But I just wanted to commend you all in participating in a program like the Chamber Leadership. Continuing to develop yourself professionally and personally is always an important goal, and this is a great step, and it builds such strong leaders in our community, and we encourage you guys to stay involved with the city. We have started to receive applications for firework tents set up. We have a city one and a county one, so we will make sure to republish all of the rules to the city staff, and we'll provide you guys with a copy of those as well, because we know that we want to make sure to follow all of our rules related to fireworks. We'll make sure to probably put something out on social media, but did you know of here's the rules that you have to follow. Unfortunately, I do want to make note that we received notice that over this last weekend that there was placement of material in some neighborhood driveways related to a KKK organization. And so I did want to take a time to make it clear that the city of Paris and Bourbon County is the wrong place to spread that type of hate. And we will do everything within our control legally to stop any type of activity like that. So I am asking that all residents rally together to report anything that they may see and to send a message that there's no place in our community for that type of activity.
Can you tell us exactly what happened? I've heard and I've read some things, but was there flyers put out and
Yes,
dropped on properties, mailboxes, or
on the, in the
just dropped
driveways.
in the driveways? And we
Is it
had,
not criminal littering?
yes.
We have a report open on it, which is why I say, please, if you see anything else, report any information that you have, so that we can send a clear message that that will not be here in the city of Paris.
How many homes or neighborhoods or?
I don't have that information. I don't.
Not really, if we had, other than, you know, what I've seen in the papers and such, we had any of the affected citizens call in to the police department or to the city to?
We had one report directly to the police department.
I agree.
I talked to Chief Thomas, and he said there was 2 neighborhoods basically
That's what I was
covered. Yeah.
curious about. I agree, this is the place.
And then the last thing I just wanted to know, I wanted to thank everybody, staff, and as well as you guys for all of your support over the last couple of days, and it's meant a lot. Truly, moments like that where you feel you've found a community that really cares, and it's been such a pleasure to be part of this community, but moments like it allows you to reflect, so I just want to thank everybody for their support, so.
All I want to do is just recognize Samantha, who's filling in for Paul Gibson, I don't know how long.
For the summer right now.
For the summer at this point, Paul, taking a summer break, so, well,
I have one thing, school is out, and there've been reports of kids out all hours of the night, some on their bikes, skateboards, some walking in groups, cutting through people's property. We will probably have to enforce our curfew laws a little bit harder than we have been in the past, because I think all of us have seen in the last 2 or 3 months across the nation where kids have been shot. Some have been killed because they've been on someone's property, not necessarily causing any problems, but you're on somebody's property and things happen. So we don't want that to happen here in Paris, so we probably need to ask our police department if they see any kids out past whatever our curfew laws say, that we need to make sure that those kids are informed that they need to be home. If necessary, we may need to contact some parents if we have kids out more than one time, and let them know that these are our curfew laws, and we intend to enforce them, because we don't want any type of shooting or harassment or any incident to happen pertaining to being out late at night with teenagers primarily. Some have been middle school kids. They're just out. So we need to take hold of that situation quickly and get it under control. That's all I have.
Just thought I'd hit Mike up since he's got Gordon next to him over there, about our Cypress Street bypass light. Last time we
So we met with
we
District
met with
7,
District 7.
2 weeks ago. I talked to the head engineer over traffic control devices. She's gonna pull crash data, study it, and she's supposed to be getting back to me to let me know if and what they.
Great.
That was the first question I
Great,
asked.
thank you. All right, that's all I had.
A question about July's meetings. Did we agree, are we meeting twice in July or just?
now,
We are going to not have the first meeting in July unless we have to
Unless we
schedule
need-
a special
Okay,
meeting.
now that's all I have. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.